This is the individual oral for English A, Language and Literature at SL level. The global issue I've chosen today is subversion of traditional mindset and the way it influences gender norms. Subversion of traditional mindset challenges conventional gender norms, advocating for roles and behavior not typically assigned to a specific gender. This approach promotes equality by questioning stereotypes and encouraging more flexible, inclusive understandings of gender. To portray this global issue, I've chosen Salome by Carol Ann Duffy and a cartoon titled Cooking as Foreplay by Liza Donnelly. To begin with, my literary text is Salome by Carol Ann Duffy, a renowned Scottish poet and playwright. This poem presents a modern twist on the biblical story of Salome, who is a seductress responsible for the beheading of John the Baptist. By giving Salome autonomy, Duffy critiques the societal stereotypes while utilizing rhetorical question, anachronism, simile, and diction. Firstly, a striking authorial choice is the rhetorical question in line 4. Woke up with a head on the pillow, whose woke up with the head on the pillow beside me, whose why did it matter? This line highlights the speaker's carefree attitude towards her lovers, contrasting sharply with the traditional depictions of women as emotionally invested and cautious in romantic encounters. In society, it was quite acceptable for a man to have multiple relationships, but women were always frowned upon. In this case, however, the speaker is subverting from that gender expectation. In lines 13 and 14 as well, the character lists names of the men she has slept with in the form of rhetorical questions that underlines the character's indifference to the identity of a partner. This detachment not only subverts the expected emotional investment typically ascribed to women, but also challenges the societal expectation that women should value their romantic connections above all. Furthermore, the speaker employs anachronism effectively. The phrase rang for the maid in lines 13 and 14 introduces a modern element of telephone that wasn't available during the time of the actual biblical story. It bridges historical and contemporary contexts, creating a dialogue between past and present views on women's roles. In historical context, women, particularly of the speaker's status, would be seen and not heard, their roles largely decorative. The act of the act of the character ringing for a maid subtly places her in a position subverting from traditional roles as she is no longer pressured or obliged to fulfill the house chores, showcasing the power and authority she has gained. Additionally, the simile, who'd come like a lamb to the slaughter to Salome's bed in line 29, reverses traditional dynamics, portraying men as vulnerable and passive, a role historically attributed to women. This inversion questions the societal expectation placed on men and women regarding sexual dominance and vulnerability. This subversion impacts not only women but also men, where they act contrary to the stereotypical image built around them in society. It subverts the patriarchal expectation that men are always in control and women are passive participants. Moreover, in another poem by Duffy, Mrs. Rip Van Winkle, she writes, I took up food and gave up exercise, it did me good. This deliberate rejection of societal beauty standards and the embrace of personal comfort subverts the entrenched narrative that a woman's value is tied to her physical attractiveness or adherence to restrictive lifestyle habits that maintain a certain body type. This not only empowers the character by placing her desires and comfort at the forefront, but it also critiques the pervasive nature that often dictates how women should look and act to be considered acceptable or attractive. Lastly, the poet's use of colloquial language in line 22, Night on the Batter, a British slang for going out to get drunk, reframes activities traditionally seen as masculine, like going out drinking, and lines them with the female protagonist. This use of diction suggests that women too can indulge in such freedoms without judgment or consequence, thereby critiquing societal norms around gender and behavior. Similarly, the poet utilizes diction in the poem Pygmalion's Bride in the line So I Changed Tack that highlights the subversion of gender roles as the woman took control in the relationship. Moving on, the same global issue of subversion of traditional mindset and its influence on gender norms is also depicted in a cartoon titled Cooking as Foreplay by Liza Donnelly, an American cartoonist and writer. This cartoon humorously subverts traditional gender roles and mindsets by portraying a scene where cooking, typically considered a domestic and often feminized activity, is used as a metaphor for foreplay, a concept generally associated with sexual intimacy. The cartoonist employs dialogue, caricature, and humor to challenge the traditional mindset that assigns rigid roles based on gender. Firstly, the woman's dialogue in the cartoon, so this is what you meant by cooking as foreplay, acts as a pun to playfully reinterpret the term foreplay in a literal sense, associating it unexpectedly with cooking. This statement not only highlights her command over the situation but also inverts typical sexual dynamics, suggesting her control extends both sexually and otherwise within the relationship. This reversal challenges the traditional norm that men lead in sexual and romantic scenarios. Similarly, the caption in another one of her cartoons, Your chances of hailing a cab are better if you go to the curb, supports the typical post romantic scenario where the man controls the aftermath of the relationship, sexually and otherwise. This caption puts the woman in a position of making decisions about when and how their sexual interactions end, significantly influencing traditional gender roles by portraying the woman as as a decision maker. Moreover, the caricature in the cartoon showing the women relaxed and smiling in bed while the man cooks visually captures the role reversal. Traditionally, women are often depicted in domestic roles, especially in contexts involving cooking. Here, the man's earnest involvement in cooking, a traditionally feminine task, and the woman's leisurely posture subvert these norms, illustrating a shift in power dynamics within the household. It challenges the notion that women should always be the one working or that they cannot enjoy relaxation and leisure, and impacts the perception of men's roles, suggesting they can be equally involved in domestic tasks. This way, she pushes the conversation about gender equality forward, highlighting the importance of flexibility in roles and the breaking down of stereotypes. This cartoon serves as a reminder that gender roles are socially constructed through humor and creativity. Furthermore, humor arises from the unexpected and exaggerated role reversal. Through the visual of the absurdity of the man cooking on a stove top, particularly in such an unconventional setting as on a bed, this scenario defies practicality and mocks the traditional domestic roles expected of women. This playful setup not only entertains but also subtly critiques these norms, suggesting that activities like cooking need not be gender specific and can be shared or even reversed in a fun, non traditional way. By placing the man in this traditionally feminine role and the women as an observer, this cartoon humorously highlights the breaking of rigidness of gender roles, encouraging the audience to question why certain tasks are gendered in the first place. Similarly, in another one of Donnelly's cartoons titled Now Act Like You Like It, the caption is ironic because it is used in a context of role reversal where the man is doing household chores. It challenges the stereotype that women should naturally engage in and enjoy household tasks. By having a man perform these roles and possibly not enjoy them, it underscores that the engagement in domestic chores should not be inherently linked to one's gender but rather shared responsibilities. In conclusion, both Salome and Donnelly's cartoon eloquently capture the essence of subversion of traditional mindset and its influence on gender norms. They